previous session, we have discussed about liquidators remuneration. Now we will solve few problems based on liquidator remuneration. Now compute the amount of liquidators remuneration when unsecured creditors are 4 lakhs and amount available is 1 lakh 64,800. Okay. Now rate of remuneration is 3% on amount distributed to unsecured creditors. Now calculate the liquidator's remuneration for this. So first, whenever assets are sold and amount is realized, from that liquidator's remuneration and liquidator's expenses will be paid first. Later only other creditors will be paid. So first you have to check whether the company is solvent enough to pay all the debts or not. Is the amount sufficient? Is there any deficiency? That you have to identify. Clear? So first here, if we see unsecured creditors are 4 lakhs and amount available with us to pay to the creditors is only 1 lakh 64,800. Whenever amount available is less than the creditor's amount, then we say that company is insolvent. Clear? Here, if you see the 1 lakh 64,800, we won't be able to pay the 4 lakhs to creditors, right? So, this is a situation where the company is insolvent. Clear? Here, since the amount available is less than the unsecured creditors, the company is insolvent. So when company is insolvent, how do we calculate liquidator's remuneration? Which formula we apply? We have discussed in the previous class. Liquidator's remuneration is equals to amount available into rate by 100 plus rate. Now, how much is the rate of remuneration? 3% is the rate of remuneration. Whenever company is insolvent, this formula we will apply, calculate the remuneration. So, here how much is the amount available? Amount available with us is 1,64,800 into rate. Rate at which remuneration is paid is 3%. 3 by 100 plus rate. So 100 plus 3. So 1,64,800 into 3 by 800 plus 3, 103. If you simplify, the final answer will be 4,800. So this 4,800 is a remuneration, liquidator's remuneration. After the payment of after we deduct the remuneration from the amount available, we pay to creditors. Clear? Later at last we will pay to shareholder. Clear? So this is 4,800. Next, let us see the next question. On liquidation of a company, the liquidator is eligible for a remuneration of 2% on amount distributed to unsecured creditors. Here he gave. Here in the previous question, amount distributed to unsecured creditors. Here also 2%. Here it is 3%. Now first step, check whether the company is solvent or insolvent. Here amount realized on assets is 8 lakhs. Amount paid to preferential creditors is 25,000. Who are preferential creditors? The preferential creditors are the creditors who has preferential right to be paid first. Clear? So amount paid to unsecured creditors is 3,50,000. So here amount available with us is 8 lakhs. Even if we pay the preferential creditors and unsecured creditors also, the company will still have fund to pay remuneration. So company is solvent to pay to creditors, right? Therefore, the company is solvent. As the amount realized from assets is more than the unsecured creditors. So what will be the liquidators? How do we find out liquidators remuneration? Which formula we use? Liquidators remuneration is equals to amount due to unsecured creditors. Unsecured creditors into rate by 100. Amount due to unsecured creditors. Now, Amount paid to unsecured creditors is 3,50,000. Now, no information is given about preferential creditors, but when we take under unsecured creditors, we will include preferential creditors also. So, amount paid to unsecured creditors is 3,50,000 plus include preferential creditors also in this until and unless any information is given in the question. So, as of now, no information is given. So, include this preferential creditors also in this. So, 25,000 into rate. Here, remuneration of 2% on the amount distributed to unsecured creditors. So, rate is 2%. So, that is 2 by 100. Okay. So, unsecured creditors plus preferential creditors. How much we will get? 3,50,000 plus 25,000. We get 3,75,000 into 2%. Into 2%. 2% of 3,75,000 is rupees 7,500. So, like this we calculate liquidator's remuneration. This is the situation when the company is insolvent, and this is the formula we use. And when the company is solvent, and when the company has a sufficient fund to pay to the creditors, then amount due to unsecured creditors into rate by 100 is the formula. Clear? We will solve few more problems on liquidator's remuneration. Question number 3. A liquidator is entitled to receive remuneration at 2% of assets realized and 3% of amount distributed among the unsecured creditors. Okay. So, 2% from the assets realized and 3% from the amount is paid to unsecured creditors. Now, the following information is given. The asset realized is 25 lakhs against which payment was made as follows. Clear? Liquidation expenses 25,000, preferential creditors 75,000 and unsecured creditors 10 lakhs. Now calculate the remuneration payable to the liquidator. Now, how much is the actual amount we paid unsecured creditors, which is 10 lakhs? How much is the amount realized from the assets? This 25,000. That means amount realized is more. We have a sufficient amount to pay to our creditors. Then company is solvent. Therefore, company is solvent. Solvent. Now, what will be the formula used? Here, already he gave 2% of asset realized and 3% of the amount paid to unsecured creditors. So, we have to take this and calculate. So, now liquidate, as per the question, liquidator's remuneration is equal to 2% of the assets realized, 3% of amount distributed among unsecured creditors, 3% of amount paid to unsecured creditors. Okay. Now, 2% of asset realized. How much is assets realized? 25 lakhs. So, 2% of 25 lakhs plus and 3% of the amount distributed among unsecured creditors. How much is the amount distributed among unsecured creditors, which is 10 lakh. But in the previous problem we have discussed that along with unsecured creditors you have to include preferential creditors 75,000 also. So here this will be 3% of preferential creditors plus unsecured creditors. Preferential creditors is 75,000 plus unsecured creditors is 10 lakhs. 2% of 25 lakh is 50,000 plus 3% of 75,000 plus 10 lakhs. So 10 lakh 75,000. So 3% of 10 lakh 75,000 will be 32,250. Clear? Now 50,000 plus 32,250 will give you the total liquidator's remuneration. So 50 plus 30, 82,200. So this is the liquidator's remuneration. Clear? Here clearly he mentioned you have to calculate as per this percentage. Now let us see one more similar problem of similar kind. Find the liquidator's remuneration when he is to be paid 2%. 2% on asset realized and 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Again, a similar kind. Okay. And the assets realized are 40,000. Payment to unsecured creditors is 10,000 and payment to preferential creditors is 6,000. So total is 16,000. Even we pay 16,000, we will be left out with the amount still. So here the company is solvent. Company has sufficient funds to pay to unsecured creditors and preferential creditors. Here. So how do we calculate liquidators remuneration? First, the company is solvent. Then in this situation, liquidators remuneration as per the question, 2% of assets realized plus 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Okay. Now 2% of asset realized. How much is asset realized here? Assets realized is given as 40,000. Assets realized are 40,000. So 2% on assets realized, 2% of 40,000 plus 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Here, unsecured creditors are only 10,000, but we will include preferential creditors also 6,000. So, total 10,000 plus 16,000. So, 2% on 40,000 is rupees 800 plus 2% of 10,000 plus 6,000. You will get 16,000. So 2% of 16,000 will be 320. Clear? So 800 plus 320 will give you 1,120. So this is how we can calculate liquidators remuneration. In the previous problem, we have formula based. So here in this question itself, he gave what all you have to take for liquidators remuneration. 2% of asset realized and 2% of unsecured creditors. The liquidator of a company which is in voluntary liquidation is entitled for the remuneration of 3% on amount realized, and in bracket he gave additional information excluding cash in hand, and at 2% of the amount distributed to unsecured creditors. Now you have to calculate, find out the liquidators remuneration. Here what all information is given to us? Unsecured creditors are 80,000. Debenture holder is 1,03,750. Cost of liquidation is 1,020 and cash in hand was 2,000 and assets realized is 1,58,000. Total amount available with us is 1,58,000 plus 2,000. So when you calculate remuneration, you have to exclude cash in hand, that is you have to take 1,58,000. Now find out liquidators remuneration. Okay. First, find out whether the company is solvent or insolvent. How much is the actual amount available with us now? Total amount available. Okay. How much is the total amount realized? 1,58,000 plus cash in hand is ready with us, which is 1,000. Total 1,60,000. Okay. From this, deduct all the payments. What all payments we make after the assets are realized? First, we pay liquidators remuneration, then cost of liquidation. After liquidators expenses are removed, then we deduct debenture holders and creditors, unsecured creditor. Clear? After that, whatever is available, that we will calculate now. Minus payments. Yeah. First, liquidators remuneration. Okay. Liquidators remuneration. How much is the liquidators remuneration? As per the question, he says 3% on the amount realized. 3% on amount realized. 3% of 1,58,000. Okay. So here amount realized excluding cash in hand. So we have excluded cash in hand here. So 1,58,000 into 3% will give you rupees 4,740. Clear? After that, the cost of liquidation. First, liquidator's cost has to be deducted. So, second, the cost of liquidation, which is given as 1020. Clear? After that, what will be the next payment? Debenture holders. Clear? Debenture holders are 1,03,750. Clear? Later in the final step only, we will check unsecured creditors. So, next, debenture holders. 1,03,750. Now, add these three, 4,740 plus 1,020 plus 1,03,750. Add this three, how much we get? We get rupees 1,09,000, 1,09,510. 1,09,510. Now, total amount realized minus payments. 1,60,000 minus the payment amount. 1,09,510. How much we get? We get rupees 50,490. Clear? Therefore, amount available is 50,490. Clear? Now, how much is the actual amount which we have to pay to unsecured creditors? Unsecured creditors, we have to pay 80,000. Now, how much is the amount available with us after making payment to liquidator, after deducting cost of liquidation and all? We are left with only 50,490, but we have to pay 80,000 to unsecured creditors. Therefore, amount to be paid to unsecured rupees 80,000. So here, amount available is less than the amount to be paid to unsecured creditors, or unsecured creditors are more than the amount available. Then in this situation, we say company is insolvent. So here we cannot pay 80,000. We have only 50,000. We are unable to pay 80,000. This is a situation where the company is insolvent. So here, therefore, the amount available less than the unsecured creditors. Therefore, the company is insolvent. Okay, the company is insolvent. Now, calculate liquidator's remuneration. Now, liquidator's remuneration is equals to, as per the question, 3% on amount realized, excluding cash in hand. So, 3% of asset realized plus at 2% on amount distributed to unsecured creditors plus 2% on creditors. Now 3% of asset realized is how much? How much is asset realized? 1,58,000 excluding cash in hand. So 1,58,000 plus 2% on unsecured creditors. So how do we calculate this now? We will take the formula. Now what is the formula when the company is insolvent? When the company is insolvent, we don't have sufficient fund. With the amount available into rate by 100 plus rate. Apply this formula. Clear? 3% of 1,58,000 will be how much? We have calculated also. 3% of 1,58,000 is 1,490 plus amount available. How much is amount available? Amount available plus rate. How much is amount available? Amount available is 50,490 into 2 by 100 plus 2. So 3% of 1,58,000 is 4,740. 4,740 plus amount available into 2 by 100 plus 2. So 4,740 plus 50,000, 50,490 into 2 by 102. If we simplify, we get 4,740 plus 990. Total amount will be 5,730. So this is the total remuneration to be paid to the liquidator. So therefore, liquidator's remuneration is equals to rupees 5,730. Clear? So first, you have to check whether the company is solvent or not with the amount available and by deducting all the payments from it.